Okay. Here we are, live Friday night here in the UK. And I am Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com. It's nice to have you here. I should say that with a bit of lexicon reverb, seeing as it is Grammy Award-winning, Isabella. Whoa. Musicradiocreative.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So there you go. How are you doing? How are you? You all right?
I'm really good. I was about to ask you the same question, as I know you are extremely jet lagged. And today we actually...
What do you think?
You are. And today we actually had a different topic planned out. But when I looked at you just ahead of the time, I said, there's no way we're going to do this, Mike.
Hang on a second. Hang on. What are you saying? I have got no jet lag at all whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Maybe just a little bit. But
right.
you know what they say, Isabella, right?
Yeah.
You know they say that west is best and east is beast.
Right.
I've just headed back to the east.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, we've got some really good topic, I think, that we can focus and talk about, because you just got back from Podcast Movement and it was a ton of really exciting podcast news and all sorts of really, really interesting findings that you had in there. So I thought I will pick your brain a little bit about that and... yeah, let's just talk podcasting today. What do you say?
I am super excited, and I think this will be really good. Yes, I would have loved to have done the original topic. Let's bring some music in, by the way, which is how to auto-tune your voice. But then it was just, showing off an advanced tutorial like that.
I didn't think it would work today.
My brain
I really
is
didn't.
not quite in gear at this very moment in time. So yeah, but I'm very excited about what I experienced at Podcast Movement, and I really think that I can talk lots about what I learned and what I experienced at this rather fabulous event. This is the program that I'm holding up to the camera now, Podcast Movement Philadelphia 2018, and I did get to see the Liberty Bell, by the way, when I was out there too, which was really nice. So yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, it's a nice groovy music. I like it.
Yeah, well, actually, you might recognize this because I put a video up on the channel earlier this week, on Tuesday this week, touring around the Podcast Movement Expo floor, and I did a very quick 60-second time-lapse with this music in the background. By the way, if you would like to use this track in your own YouTube videos, you can do. Go to mrc.fm/music. That's mrc.fm/music, and you will find it. Look at all these albums. Brilliant stuff. From Epidemic Sound. We use them in our YouTube videos. And actually, if I go to, let's have a look here, Staff Picks. Yes, it's under Staff Picks at the moment. It's called Rejection by Kilrude. Okay, Rejection by Kilrude, playing right now.
Nice. Bless you, Mikey. Have you switched into the radio mode?
On your radio.
I think a little bit.
Right now. Right now. Anyway, yeah, take it away. So first question, Isabella, about Podcast Movement.
Right, so Podcast Movement in Philadelphia, and you were there officially with Adobe, is that right? So
That's right, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your presence at the Podcast Movement?
Yes, well, hold the card up to the camera.
I will do. Hang on. This is quite exciting.
Yes.
There we go. Can we see that?
Yeah, we can see that. That's fantastic. So yeah, booth 30, you were able to sign up for 3 months of free Adobe Creative Cloud if you're a Podcast Movement attendee. By the way, what I will say is there were loads of deals like that for podcasters, and not just, kind of sign up to our mail list and we're going to spam you loads. It was like literally like 3 months free of this, 3 months free of that. Lots of online services useful to podcasters. So I found that super, super helpful. I won't mention the link, obviously, because it's for attendees only, but a really cool online teaching service called Teachable had a similar deal as well available, so it was really, really cool. So I was on the booth with Adobe, and it was fantastic. I was out there with Duran Gleaves, the product manager for audio from Audition, Eric Philpott, Charles Van Winkle as well, and yeah, we must have had hundreds of people come by the booth across the 3 or so days that we were manning that booth, and it was great to see so many people. I gave a talk as well on the Wednesday at 2:30. That was about well-produced audio as your ticket to success. And I just really enjoyed myself, and it was really interesting to hear the struggles that not just beginner podcasters are having, but also some of the more advanced podcasters were coming over and saying, do you know what, I just can't get this working or can't get that working. So, you know.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So I think that I've read somewhere that there were around 2,500 podcasters, so the biggest podcast movement yet.
Yeah, I think we're looking at 2,000 plus from around 30 different countries. It was magnificent. And I didn't get to a whole load of sessions because I was... my primary reason for being there was to be on the Adobe booth, but I did manage to sneak in for Pat Flynn's session.
Nice.
And it was really cool, and they had a little trailer playing just before Pat came on stage saying it's the biggest podcasting conference in the world.
Wow.
You know, with attendees from over 30 countries and stuff.
Nice.
Really, really cool stuff. Pat came up, did his stuff, and of course Pat Flynn was fantastic.
Nice.
Really, really cool.
Oh, Pat is always fantastic. I mean, literally, you know, when you go to a conference where Pat Flynn is doing a keynote, you know that keynote is going to absolutely rock the stage.
Yeah, but and you know he always has surprises in his keynotes, right?
Yes,
that's another common thing.
Right.
So this time he brought his son Keone on stage, and that was awesome. That was just amazing. I mean, how cool is that? And they had a great chat, and they have a new podcast as well called All of Your Beeswax, which is cool because I was thinking that it's time right now to encourage more children to podcast. I think we should be doing it with our own, Isabella.
I think so, and you know. I started to know where the podcasting is going to go with the younger generations. You know, actually, I had an interesting conversation with my sister. So I have a sister that's 10 years younger than me, to anyone watching who doesn't know. So she's a very different generation, obviously, to me. And she's really good at graphic design, by the way. So all of our cartoons on Music Radio Creative website are done by her. She's got this amazing talent. I did have a little sneak peek in her phone. She's very shy, by the way. You know, I've tried to look at her phone and see what else she's done, and she's done some amazing stuff. Like, she's got some really, really cool things, but she's very shy of it. She didn't want to even show me. But anyway, so she really hopes to develop this as, you know, her full-time gig. And I said to her, Natalia, come on, give me your phone. I'm just going to put some really cool podcasts for you to listen to. And she's like, podcasts? Huh? Really? You know, she just was like, what do you mean podcasts? It's not really my thing. But when I said, how about YouTube? Her eyebrow just went, you know? So I think that whilst podcasting is really, really, you know, important and big, I think it will be the video podcasting that will really, really make a difference, especially with the younger generations. So yes, I think we should be definitely teaching the youngsters to podcast, but I think we should be adding the video component now. So
okay, makes sense. Yeah. Just going to shout out some of the chat here. Roblox is saying that you have beautiful skin and beautiful eyes too. That's very nice indeed. And thank you, Michael, for the wonderful support. Michael's in the chat from New York, I believe. He's just up the road from where I was in Philadelphia. Go on, Isabella.
Sorry, hang on. Just the last comment just dawned on me. Like, you said it very quickly, and I was like, hang on, who are we talking about? Was it you, Mike?
You no, I wish. Then there's Liam there. Love the videos this week, Mike. Yeah, this week on the YouTube channel, I released video about uploading and distributing your own podcast online. That was one of them. I see Eileen is in the chat as well. I actually got to meet Eileen in person for the first time. It was awesome. So hi to you, Eileen, and nice to have met you at Podcast Movement. Dominic's there as well. YouTube finally let me comment. Woohoo!
Yay,
nice.
Yay, Dominic.
Dominic from our team.
It's Dominic from our team, yes. Dominic from Music Radio Creative is there, yes. So he's had problems over the last few weeks. He couldn't comment, so he's there, which is great.
And David Hunter is back in the house. David Hunter. Long time no see. It's nice to see you there, David, as well.
It's lovely to see the familiar names popping up in the comments, which is really, really lovely.
That's it. Sandy C, Holland TV in there as well.
Yes.
Sohog BMD. We got Andres as well. Leonardo in, Glenio, Martin, Phoenix Voiceovers, and Barbara as well. So many of you tuning in. It's nice to have so many of you tuning in. By the way, next week we're doing the live stream 12 hours earlier.
Yes.
Which is going to confuse you. It's the mini draw number 2 coming up. So, that's going to be really, really good. Chance to win a load of goodies, right?
Yes, that's right. So the mini draw for our giveaway, which, by the way, and I think, do you have the ka-ching sounds in the thing you've got in there? Gosh, I've totally
Not
lost
directly
it.
accessible.
No. Oh, I wanted to say that we finally crossed the £10,000 not pounds, I wish, $10,000 worth of total prize value for the grand giveaway, which is amazing. This has been our goal from the very start. So to cross that $10,000 mark is absolutely amazing.
It is.
So yes, you definitely need to make sure that your name is in the hat for that one, and if you do put your name into that, you will be automatically put into the draw for the mini draws that we have. So we have 2 of those left. One is next Friday and the next one is on the September the 7th. Next Friday, up for grabs, we have 1 year of Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yep.
We have Isotope Ozone 8 bundle, and we have SE V7 microphone, which we have tested.
It's pretty cool, actually.
To be honest with you, I was really, really pleasantly surprised at the quality of the microphone. I think it performs amazingly well, especially in an echoey room or a room that isn't very well treated. Very good microphone for the price you get, but it is up for grabs for one lucky winner on next Friday. So it will be at 8 a.m. not p.m. and it's because we are traveling.
UK time.
Yes.
UK time, but it will show up in your local time zone if you go to the upcoming live streams on the channel at youtube.com/musicradiocreative. And if you want to enter the any of these draws, just go to mrc.fm/giveaway and you can get your name into the hat as many times as you like as well. $10,589 up for grabs. Now back to podcast movement. I'd like to talk some more about this. So like I said, didn't get to many sessions, but Pat's keynote I did very much enjoy. I also got to meet friends old and new. For instance, a name I've known for years and years from radio, James Cridland. He's actually got an article in the podcast movement brochure called Radio.
Yes.
I'm trying to point to it. Radio versus podcasting. Why it's not a battle. Very, very good read, and nice to have met James out there in Philadelphia. Just rifling through here as well. I did get around the expo floor quite a bit. The it was known as Podcast Movement Central. They have lovely maps in here so you can tell where everything is. So some of the stands I managed to get to were Heil Sound, and the lovely Michelle and Ash were on that stand. Absolutely fantastic. They had all the Heil microphones, including some that I'd never seen before, and you could test them all, and they were running them through a beautiful Allen and Heath desk, so I could figure out the best Heil Sound microphone for me. Pretty happy with the PR40 though. But yeah, that was really nice. So I got round to their booth. Another one that I spent some time at, chatting to Francesco, Rob Greenlee, and all the team from Spreaker. They had, I think, Isabella, the biggest and brightest stand in the whole of podcast movement. Dare I say it? I believe it was. Nice. And they were giving away some pretty cool podcasting t-shirts there.
I've seen it on one of your videos. They were really nice and bright yellow t-shirts. They looked really, really good.
Eat, sleep, podcast, repeat.
So Mike, I have a question to you. Obviously, we kind of predicted that a while back ago, and we still think that that's going to be the case. How much of a talk have you heard about video podcasting? How much of a sort of video podcasting presence as such you've seen? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, amongst the attendees that I met, I didn't notice if there were any sessions particularly based around this, but there was not much talk about it.
Okay.
I think this is this is a conference for audio people. Personally, it's geared towards producing audio, not necessarily video primarily. I did meet a few video people there. There's a chap by the name of Ross I met, who's a live streamer. I met him on the final day. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
We had a quick chat about Nick Nimmin as well, so we mutually are aware of Nick Nimmin and all of that. But then I think that space is really well served by the video events. There are so many video events.
I absolutely disagree with you. You know what? Actually, the reason I talk about it is just this week, a couple of our clients who we've started to do podcast production for got in touch and said, actually, we've reviewed the stats, we've reviewed our agenda, and those are podcasters who podcast for business. So one is a farmers-related topics, and another one is a business podcast. And they said... Okay. We've reviewed the stats, we've looked at pretty much, everything that's going around, and video is going to be the way moving forward to us in conjunction with audio. Wow. So I think that there is something going on with the video, and I think it is definitely the space to watch. That's why I was curious to see whether there was much of that at podcast movement, and I'm surprised there wasn't. So perhaps that will be something that will be far more prominent next year. But there is my official prediction. I think that video podcasting is going to be the next big thing. For
2019. Interesting.
Yeah.
And they've already made the announcement that Podcast Movement 2019 is going to be in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be in August. And somebody was telling me that... if you get out to that one, you will spend most of the time networking in the venue because it's going to be so hot and so humid in Orlando at that time of year. But of course, it's close to Disney and all the theme parks. There it is. There's the ad in the back of the brochure. Podcast Movement Orlando, August 13th to 16th, 2019. And actually, it says here it's at the Rosen Shingle Creek, Orlando. So very, very cool stuff indeed.
Nice.
It's cool. I like the way they move it around every year. You get some variety.
Nice.
That's really cool, yeah.
That is really cool. So, have you met many UK podcasters at the podcast movement?
Yes, from the top of my head, I met Colin Gray, who is from the podcasthost.com, Mark Asquith from podcastwebsites.com. I did meet very briefly Mike Morrison as well from the membership guys, Craig Wheeland as well. Shout out to you, Craig. Just trying to think. My goodness, I'm going to forget someone.
That's okay.
Because you're putting me on the spot here.
No, I am putting you on the spot. But the reason I was wanted to ask is obviously... we wanted to see how podcast movement affects the UK podcasting scene, and whether there are some major takeaways for the UK podcasters, perhaps to take from the conference.
Definitely, I would say more and more podcasters from the UK are taking it seriously as the biggest podcasting event in the world, and hopping over to the other side of the pond. And I do still think that. In the US, it's where all the best conferences are. Yes. So, it's just like...
unless we decide to put one up, right?
I still think the best conferences are in the US.
Oh, okay. No, that's it. So, next question that immediately comes to mind as well, because I have heard a little bit of... I was watching social media, so I was, just to fill up everyone else, I was here at home. We couldn't both go together. And I was just stalking everyone on social media. So I was following Podcast Movement via Twitter and Facebook. But I did seem to hear a little bit of talk about the Alexa Briefings. Did you have any thoughts on that? Did you hear anyone talking about it?
That was a real buzz around. Yeah, I had a number of conversations about that. You've got to get them out now. So you've got to have an RSS feed that's like these 1-minute episodes that go out daily. You don't have to do them and create them daily, like some people do. James Cridland does. He's got podnews.net now, and he was telling me actually that because he's based in Australia now. He used to live in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And I actually had a chat with him about that. I was quite interested because I know we've got family in Australia. And I said to him, so why did you leave the UK? And he said, well, you know, we had kids and they were getting to school age, and we thought, where do we want to send them to school and what quality of life do we want? So Australia.
Yeah, well, you know, I can't blame him. Australia is absolutely amazing. You know, one of those places we've always been looking and thinking, oh, you know, wouldn't it be great to have orange trees growing in your garden?
Sure. So yeah, James said that you know, he'll always record his daily show in the evening because you know, while he's awake during the day in Australia, the rest of the world sleeps. So most of the news comes in towards the end of the day, and so he's prepping and producing that show every day, which is a big commitment. But you don't have to do that. John Lee Dumas, who actually I didn't bump into this time. I did bump into a couple of times into Kate Erickson, but I was speaking to John a few weeks back, and he mentioned that he batch records a show for the Amazon Alexa called The Daily Brief. The Daily Refresh. That's the one.
That's the
Getting
one.
my shows confused now. The Daily Refresh, which is about inspiration, meditation, all that kind of cool stuff. So you can batch it, and it's likely worth getting in now. A highlight, by the way, I will say, of the whole event for me is my dinner on the final night that I had in Philadelphia at the Hard Rock Cafe with none other than Cliff Ravenscraft.
Nice. Cliff is such a great guy, and he's got a conference of his own as well, which is coming up very soon, right?
Yes, it is. He's an inspiration to me, by the way, Isabella.
He is a very, very, very cool guy. And if you don't know who Cliff Ravenscraft is, then I would suggest go to freethedream.live. That's the event he's putting up, and you can find out more about Cliff and his amazing work over there. And yeah, it's, you know, I was talking to my sister today, just before I was putting her on a ferry to go back home because she was here when you were away, and I said to her, do you know what, Natalia? If you want to take your graphic design to the next level, you have to go to Free the Dream conference.
Definitely.
I said that I don't know whether she will do it. You see, this is the thing, that generational gap of 10 years is making such a huge difference. I'm just like, you know, just stunned at it hugely. But anyway, I did suggest it to her. I don't know whether she will do it or not. But I would say if there is something that, you know, you've kind of been hogging on for quite some time and thinking about doing, and, you know, just need that final push, I think that will be the place to be to do it.
Yeah, that's it. And over dinner, Cliff suggested that I should strongly consider launching a podcasting course on helping podcasters to get the best possible sound. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. And, you know, he was talking to me about it and going through the why have you not done it kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of, you know, like every entrepreneur out there, you know, we get by, you know, we have MRC. It's great. It's a fantastic business. I love it. But we could always be doing better, couldn't we? We could always be doing something else. I'm like, yeah, Cliff, I think I'm a little bit scared about doing this. And so he gave me a bit of a pep talk. You know, I won't go into, you know, all the details. You know, I want to keep it to, you know, the chat that we had at that dinner. But suffice to say, we did do a live together, and he just said on the live to everyone watching, oh, by the way, Mike is launching this course, and you'll be able to order it by 1st of January 2019 latest, and it's going to be $499, and you're going to learn how to make your podcast sound better.
So there you go. So there it is. It's out there already, you see. So there will be a course. So that's your next big
Cliff
thing.
is holding me to account.
That's it.
And he's now mentioning it to everyone as much as he possibly can. So.
That's it. So no pressure, Mike, right? No pressure.
Yes, that's
Absolutely
it.
no
so,
pressure.
yeah, after the summer holidays are over, that's the rest of my year sorted.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, that's it. So
I don't know if anyone watching now would be interested in such a course. Let me know. But certainly it was a common theme during the event that people, you know, I did notice that people were looking for some kind of formal training. So So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And Mike, I think that, you are always so humble, bless you. But I actually think that you genuinely help a lot of people. I mean, I was just watching some comments. There are some really, really comments already in the chat just here now. Cornelius says, this is off topic, but I found your channel about a week ago. I'm a video editor and recently got offered a job for podcast editing. This has been a huge help for me. Thank you for all your help. So you see, Cornelius is just one of many, many people who are very grateful for what you do.
Cool.
I think that you have been a little bit of a star at Podcast Movement, dare I say that. I know you wouldn't say it yourself, bless you, and you are going to probably tell me off for saying that later on, but I really think you have been a little bit of a star, and I think it's, it's fantastic that you've been able to actually meet in person with many people who actually watch your YouTube channel. So
yes, well, it was good fun. Yeah, it was really good, and I got a load of photos as well, which was really nice. Kind of selfies and people coming over to the booth. So I stuck most of them up on my personal Facebook profile, by the way.
Nice.
So I created a little album there. I was going to say, if you want to ask me any more questions about Podcast Movement, Isabella, because I'd be happy to answer them. We'll keep this show at about 30 minutes, I think, just simply because of my jet lag. I'm finding it hard to think.
I know you
One thing I am thinking of, though, that's worth mentioning is the 2018 inductees to the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Obviously, there are some pretty well-known names on here, but close to my heart are Dave Jackson and Father Roderick von Hogan as well, both inducted into the 2018 Hall of Fame.
So to anyone watching who doesn't know, what is the Hall of Fame?
So it's kind of like, I guess it's the podcasting equivalent of having a star on Hollywood Boulevard, or
nice. So it's kind of like a recognition of podcasting efforts, right?
It's a nod. It's kind of like, you've done some pretty good. It's like getting, I guess, an OBE from the Queen, for services to broadcasting, but this is an induction to a Hall of Fame for services to podcasting.
Love it.
So yeah, really, really cool stuff. And I did meet actually Dave Jackson a number of times. He's with Libsyn, so I met him and Rob Walsh and all the rest of the Libsyn team as well. I did get to their booth too, which was lots of fun. And Dave is just such a cool guy. I've got a lot of time and a lot of admiration for Dave.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite things about Dave is that I'm never short of something to say to him.
No, that's it.
And vice versa as well. So, it's good to see friends old and new at Podcast Movement for sure. Yeah,
that's nice. So was it very kind of visible, the international vibe, or was it very American? I mean, how did you, because you were at the floor of Expo, so you kind of could hear a lot of people talk to a lot of people. Did it feel very international, or was it still overwhelmingly American? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good question. I would say from my experience, I met a lot of US-based people at the event. So that was my own personal experience. But I did meet people from, around the world. There's a lady from, I can't remember the name of the company now, but I've got a stack of cards to get through after the weekend.
Oh, I bet you do.
Gemendo Music, I think, something like that. They were based out of Brussels in Belgium.
I was just curious because obviously, obviously for us here in the UK, it is quite interesting to see, how podcasting develops not only in the US but also UK and other European countries. I think. I mean, we've always, ever since we've started to follow podcasting back in 2000, was it 2012? It must have been 2012 or really. 11. Yeah, so 2011. We've always seen that the US has been like a good few years ahead of the game.
Actually, I started listening to podcasts around 2010, 2011. Yeah. And then I think the first podcast I ever released, which is likely very embarrassing, was 2012.
There you go. So we've been following this obviously for a while. So US has always been ahead of the game. Obviously, it's a much larger population, population size in general. So kind of by default, I guess that there will be more numbers in there in any way. But I do think that podcasting is kind of moving, forward everywhere else too. Do you think, I mean, this is kind of, one of those blue sky thinking questions, and you might be a bit too jet lagged to answer, but do you think that we should be putting a divide and say, there are the US podcasters, and then there is the rest of the world, or should it just be podcasting?
It should just be podcasting, of course. I do think there's a time and space for communities to exist in different areas of the world. Absolutely, because you can probably afford to travel to the US, once a year for a specific podcast like this. But it's nice if you've got stuff happening on your backyard. Absolutely. So I agree with the sentiment, Isabella, that there should be stuff going on. But even on in a US kind of way of thinking now, it shouldn't just be that, there's this one event that happens every year.
Yes.
It's like state by state, because the US is a big country. Let's not forget, why not have and I think they do exist, local meetup groups for Florida podcasters and, California podcasters. And,
I absolutely agree. It's just, I've seen people saying different things, as in, it's like, if we are UK, then that's UK. If we are US, that's US. But I do agree. I do think that podcasting shouldn't have that, border divide, because I don't think that listeners are necessarily divided by borders when it comes to listening to a podcast, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there are fans of the Beatles in the UK. There are fans of the Beatles in the US.
Absolutely. So I guess the only barrier is the language. So if there is a different language, podcast in a different language, and obviously, if you don't speak that language, then that might be a bit of a trick.
Very soon, this company is going to solve that problem, because Sonics do excellent transcriptions, and potentially, I guess you could translate those transcriptions. So, I met the team from Sonics. You might have seen that I've spoke. Well, they were cool enough to sponsor some of my videos in the first instance, but I like their product so much, and I would only talk about a product that I like anyway in the first case. But I like it so much that I talk about it now organically on my channel. And I met the team there, and they're actually really nice too, which is a cool thing. So they're a cool team, again doing cool stuff for podcasting. So that was another thing. I also wanted to just throw this in, because we're kind of coming up on time now. We're about 30 minutes in. There is a page here. I'll hold it up to the camera, because you might be able to read that. Those are statistics about podcast movement. 2,000 plus attendees. You can see up here how it's grown over the years. 50 states, 20 plus countries. Really cool gender split. 49% female, 51% male. Split of categories. Biggest categories were business and society and culture, with health and fitness in third place. And actually, that's one thing that you didn't ask about, Isabella, that has just crossed my mind. The diversity there was amazing, literally amazing. People from all different corners, all different backgrounds, different styles of podcasts. It's no longer... I didn't happen to be there at the first podcast movement, but I do understand that, the very first one, was a much smaller kind of intimate crowd, and it was very much business-focused podcasting. It certainly didn't feel like that at this event. It didn't feel like, this business podcast, that business podcast monetization, make money from your podcast. So it was broader than that, which was cool.
That's nice. And it's important. I think diversity is important at pretty much every step of the way. So that's fantastic. That is really good, Mike. Now, do you have any final thoughts before we will wave our goodbyes, or before you will I don't know, just go into a different place in your head? Bless you.
Yeah. My final thought is really, I'm super impressed with what Dan, Jared, Gary, and Mitch have managed to achieve over the years. How many? 2014, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was the 5th event, and some people had a 5-year attendee tag on their name badge, which was pretty impressive.
Wow, yeah.
So some have been coming since the start, which is great. But I'm just really impressed with what they've managed to achieve in the podcasting space, and I'm sure in no small part, podcasting is igniting and growing due to this fantastic event. So that would be my thought on that. And I was grateful to have the opportunity to be involved for the first time this year.
That's brilliant. So the main things, I guess, takeaways from this video. So there will be a course for podcasters.
Oh, don't hold me to account.
By 1st of January for $499, right? That's
$499. Yeah,
that's it. And is there going to be Alexa Briefing by Mike Russell?
Listen, one thing at a time, Isabel. One thing at a time. I'm committed
I'm trying to push you.
one thing. I like to have one project to work on. As you well know, very soon, one project that I've dedicated most of my year to is sort of winding to a conclusion very shortly, and this is going to be my next project.
Okay, that's good. That's cool. So that's good. Well, shall we wave out? By the way, you did not mention. I mean, I'm really disappointed, Mike. I have unleashed my inner curls.
Oh yeah, you look really good, by the way.
Thanks.
Yes.
Hang on, because the headphones make me look very weird in this. But yeah, look, I've cut my hair, so they are gone. And look what happened on the back. Hang on, look at this.
So cute, so unbelievably
all
amazing.
Natural curls. How about that?
Yes, you're gonna get loads of comments in the live chat saying how amazing that is. So so that's about it really. It's fantastic. What I would hope is that in the future we can get more involved with Podcast Movement, and potentially maybe even who knows. Do some more stuff. It would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think it's a fantastic event. So definitely look forward to seeing more and doing more. So that would be fab. So we are back here next week, 8 a.m. UK time.
Yep. Podcast Movement Orlando.
Yeah.
Check it out.
That's it. Cool. Shall we wave goodbyes?
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
We'll be right back.